Welcome to Marketing, Media and Money. I'm Gordon Muller.
And I'm Thebe Ikalafeng, and Happy New Year to you all. And my goodness, how did the year end up with that Black Friday? You know, Gordon, I was quite amazed at how many people tried to jam into this
enthusiastic shoppers,
enthusiastic shoppers, but
brilliant advertising, great offers, and enthusiastic shoppers.
Which is a bit crazy for
success.
No, but to me, what was crazy is people pushing trolleys which have got no bottoms in them. So I don't know where they're going to put in the stuff they were carrying in there. I don't know if you got to see that that you'll get to see on the clip.
I'm worried about the children that fell out of the bottom of the trolleys that had no bottoms in there. That was the most alarming aspect of it all.
Or the people who walked out without paying, because I bet you a lot of people walked out without paying anything that day.
Well, if you're going to generate that kind of climate, you must expect the response. You should have anticipated it. You should have anticipated it with extra security, with extra movement, extra trolleys, whatever. You can't, create demand and then have an empty shelf.
I think it's crazy. And as it is, I still don't even understand why they call it Black Friday. Because, being black, I get so sensitive whenever I see anything black on it. It's a Black Friday, Black Monday, Black anything. But I guess that day it's not so negative, isn't it? Because people are happy when they shop.
Look, the good news about Black Friday is that nobody actually knows where it began. I mean, we know that in 1863, Abraham Lincoln decreed that every fourth Thursday of November would be a holiday, and subsequently, we filled in the Friday as well. So I think conventional wisdom would have Black Friday starting off in about 1952, where it became the beginning of the American retail kind of flow through to Christmas. And obviously Thanksgiving Day is the bigger occasion in America than is Christmas. So it poses the question, why would you want to peak your Christmas sales in South Africa a week before the real peak, that's been there?
We should actually, because our Thanksgiving is what, 16 December or so? We should not be having
my Thanksgiving is the end of January when I can pay the bill. That's when thank goodness I've got those things paid for. That's my Thanksgiving.
You're right. I think we're just following an interesting tradition. But I think today's going to be interesting because we're going to have on studio people who are going to illuminate us as to whether this craziness actually does do anything to the bottom line, because I don't think it does.
But I think before we do that, I think we need to perhaps take a look at some of the scenes from Black Friday to see whether we are just making this stuff up or whether they really did happen. And while you're looking at these things, let's pose the question, do scenes like this actually belong in Africa? Do we need this kind of thing in our market? Are we just importing some North American culture into a culture that doesn't require it, doesn't want it, doesn't need it? And we've got people here, as you say, who are going to answer those questions for us.
I'm like you
today.
Thanksgiving is month end when we get paid.
Absolutely.
So this whole American concept, I don't know about it.
January, that's the end of January, that's Thanksgiving time.
My January is always 55 days long. I don't know about yours.
With us in studio to talk about the Black Friday phenomenon are Mike Gendel, Group CEO of Gendel Strategic Marketing Group. He's the chairman of the ACA and a director of the Advertising Standards Authority. Malema Motladi, who is a director of GFK and looking after audience measurement and insights across the African continent on behalf of GFK, as well as Matthew Arnold, head of media at Native VML. Thank you for joining us in studio, guys. Matthew, let me start with you. You have observed the whole Black Friday phenomenon, both locally and in the market, and particularly, my question to you is, what role has digital media and social media in particular played in fueling this frenzy? Are there global patterns? Do we conform to those global patterns? Or do we look different in any way at all?
So I think it's really interesting when you have a look at Google search data, which shows the volume of online searches around Black Friday. And when you look globally, it shows that Black Friday has been increasing year on year. If you look at the established markets like the United States and the UK, it's actually declining, if not stagnant, year on year from 2015 through to 2016. However, when you have a look at South Africa, it's a totally different scenario. So Black Friday for us is fairly new. It really started in 2015, gaining some traction. And in 2016, it's more than doubled year on year in terms of the volume. So, as a consumer base in South Africa, we're very excited about Black Friday. And if you have a look at online mentions on social platforms, you see a very similar scenario, whereas a lot of the world, in the States, for example, in the UK, the sentiment, talk about positive or negative around Black Friday, has been getting slightly more negative as things go on. Whereas in South Africa, it's still pretty positive. People are excited to get into store and to get deals.
But the negative about what have been some of the negatives have been about?
So I think some of the negatives, people see it as a lot of sort of blatant consumerism. They're also wary about discounts.
But that's true, isn't it?
It is true. I guess it is true. But I think that they're wary about things like, discounts that aren't truly discounts. So picking up things.
What do you mean, man?
Well, let me give perspective to that. So the Guardian this week published some of the outcomes of Black Friday in the UK, it used to be a magazine, I guess it's an online service now, reported that up to 50% of the offers made on Black Friday were not bona fide offers, and in fact they had exaggerated the was price to inflate the previous pricing and then offer a perceived discount. So to my mind, I'm going to direct this to Mike as well, you've had a long history of scrutinizing the industry and governing integrity in the industry. How do you, in a world of fake news / hashtag fake advertising, who governs these things? Who checks? Do we check the client? Do we check the creative work? Who looks after this stuff?
Look, self-regulation in South Africa is entrenched, but it is by definition retroactive.
Yeah.
It's retrospective. We don't want this to happen. We don't want to be so dictatorial in terms of commercial speech that we start preempting and judging what marketers are intending to put out there as messages.
But it's not just messages. It's also not about being dictatorial. It's about actually ensuring, I think, to what Gordon is alluding to, that customers are not being taken for a ride. Because to me, this sounds like we are being taken for a ride now.
Well, the point I was going to make, Thebe, is that the consumer has every right to complain if they believe that they have been misled and there have been misleading claims. So whether it be a before and after price, whether it be the insufficient stock to make it a realistic offer for a consumer, the consumer is free to approach the ASA, and the ASA will investigate retrospectively and penalize that marketer retrospectively.
The challenge here I think, though, is that consumers don't actually always know, because we just think, what a bonus that we are getting here. To me, that's what it looked like.
But I think major retailers have too much to lose reputationally to deliberately mislead the South African consumer. The South African consumer is no fool and well informed generally. And if people are going to go in there to buy trolley loads of toilet paper, they know what the original price is because they shop for it on a day-to-day basis. The problem comes in with big ticket items, where you may not know what a TV cost initially, and now you're being told that it's 50% discounted. The interesting thing, if I may, is that research has shown that consumers don't trust a before and after price. If you show it to them, they will look at the lower price and say that's the true value of the merchandise.
Or the was now.
They'll say the now price is what it should have been.
Because most of these things, as they land in the shop, they already have a sticker, was now, and it never was.
Yeah.
And what does your research tell you?
If I can add to that, I think as well, especially on the big ticket items, we need to commend the retailers, because quite a lot of them actually have sort of a 20-day return policy of if you find it cheaper anywhere else, would refund you the difference. So I think that's, in a way, a lot of the self-regulation that's coming through. For me, I think where the catches is always around when they say the first 20 items or 100 items. I mean, how do you really know that there were 19 other people who came in just before you or not?
You better come with your own adjudicator. Someone will be counting people, to make sure that you don't get taken for one.
But one of the services that you offer the industry at GFK is an evaluation of sales and assessment of sales movement. Now, Mike just happened to be talking about TV sets. You had some interesting observations about that. I mean, the ultimate vote of confidence or lack of confidence is where the people actually go and spend their money and come up with what they want.
Sure, one of the services we do is that we track retail sales across the country on a weekly basis. So we've got about 15,000 outlets sending us their sales, right from the smaller retailers to some of the major groups. Yes, so we do the auditing and put them together and show the market how retail is performing in the country. And one of the things we've seen is, yes, Black Friday in 2015 really was the start of the Christmas season in big ticket items like TVs and laptops. The same doesn't translate as much to some of the other items like appliances. And even on the FMCG side, we've noticed that it seems people were buying bigger in bulk, more in bulk than really purchasing more of increasing this normal sales basket that they do. So if you look at...
I get 1-ply toilet paper, 5 of them for the price of a 2-ply. Because that's what I saw was going around.
Some of it would have been. But interestingly, in 2016, what we saw is Black Friday was, like Matt mentioned, double what it was in 2015. But also that 1 week was the biggest selling week of TVs in the year, bigger than Christmas.
Wow. So to an extent, all we've experienced is the cannibalization of the ultimate Christmas sale. You brought your Christmas sales forward 3 weeks, and that's it. But
well, matter of fact, if you look at any research, I tried to be a bit clever coming to the show today. I said, I need to go back a few years, 20 years or so. Research from those years, even up to today, shows exactly that point. That actually all you're doing is people stockpile and they move the purchase. So the retailers are actually not gaining any much more, are they?
Yeah, and I think that's really the consumer possibly being the smarter one and taking advantage of this. Right, it's discounted now, buy it now, save it for Christmas. When it comes to December, you don't need to make that purchase. So, a smart consumer that's looking at the right prices and picking the right deals, can come out on top.
Mike, I just pose a question to you. I mean, there's probably not an advertising client that you haven't worked in a long, illustrious career. More and more what we're seeing is that Black Friday, even in the USA, is a misnomer, that those offers are extending 2-3 weeks. So in a desperate effort to extend Black Friday, we have Cyber Monday. Matt, we'll come back to you on that one a bit later on. How long is an offer valid for before it's perceived to be just some sort of...
Look, last year Walmart, extended the Black Friday concept for up to 5 days. But also understand that in most cases, the retailers aren't taking the hit. The suppliers are. So the price differential that they're passing on to the consumer, they're negotiating with their suppliers. And I do genuinely believe that there are bargains to be had. Black Friday, the concept of a deep cut sale like this reaches into people. It's human nature. People start getting a fear of scarcity and they want to buy. They talk about the hunters and the gatherers. Literally, women especially, will go into stores like hunters and gatherers to hoard because they fear that they'll not get the same price again.
And did they hoard?
And they hoarded.
And on that note, let's take a break, and then we'll talk a bit more when we get back. Welcome back. I want to get back, Matthew, to you to a point that Gordon raised earlier about, does this belong to Africa? To me, I must tell you one thing, matter of fact, from a search perspective, is that the things that seem to go viral seem to be clips of people stampeding and us laughing at them. So to me, it wasn't sort of the positive sides of Black Friday in terms of from a retail perspective, but rather was the tragedy of it, if you will. From the research that you've done from online search, where were the searches for? Were the searches for funny videos, or searches for bargains, or the searches where can I get a coolest thing?
So I think a lot of those clips were actually things from 2015 and older, so they weren't necessarily current. They were just people finding interesting things and sharing them. But by far and large, the biggest searches were all for specific deals. So people looking for the best prices, looking for which retailers are offering Black Friday deals. So I think that was quite a big shift. And in terms of the sentiment, people were not that negative, despite a lot of those memes going around. People were genuinely looking to try and find the best way to take advantage.
Well, just on that point, and I'm delighted to raise this issue because it sort of gives away Thebe's age a bit, but if we look at the Red Hexagon report on Black Friday out of the USA, the cutoff age for negative and positive disposition is 25. So if you are, 25, or if you're a millennial, 25 plus, and he probably gets in the top end of the millennials, so we'll give him that one. it's a negative experience. And the negative emphasis is on the rush, the environment, all that kind of stuff. But if you're under 25, it's still a fun event. So, you know, if I'm old and grumpy, and indeed I am, then fighting my way through a crowd of people is a bad experience. But if I'm young and vibey, and somebody on the back end of that is a notebook at a 50% discount, that's part of the fun for me.
I don't think so, actually. Matter of fact, because when I look at the divide, if you just look at some of the pictures from the time, I didn't think actually it was a generational. To me, it looks like it was an economic divide, because, you know, I'm looking at probably most people in the northern suburbs said, I'm not going to go through that stampede. I'm going to stay at home. I will do my normal shopping. I saw a lot of people who actually generally require a good deal because it will make life a bit easier for them.
That's the point. Mark, if you know what it costs to buy a pack of toilet paper.
The research that I understand from retailers that I've spoken to is that you tend to find it's a younger market and it's a high LSM market that go for Black Friday. You'd obviously, when you're talking about big ticket items, durables, you're going to find that it is a more incomed consumer compared to the fast-moving consumer goods. It's distressing when you see people behaving like animals in the sense of this herd, this mass herd mentality. And I know that's where you're coming from. People are informed and people make their own decisions. And ultimately, if the retailer provides something which they couldn't get otherwise at the same price, you know, you've got to allow it. I've seen images from Harrods, from Selfridges in the UK when they have their deep cut sales. And well-to-do people, high-income earners, are stampeding.
What do the numbers show? I mean, is it all about the TV sets, or are the deep cut pricing things playing out on nappies? I mean, if I was a single mum and I couldn't afford, you know, disposable nappies, and I could have the whole month of December with a pack of disposable nappies and the month off, I'd certainly be fighting for a pack of disposable nappies at a price I could afford.
Sure, definitely. I think one thing to remember about Black Friday is, yes, on its own, it's probably a phenomenon we've imported, but South Africa's always had a culture of discounts. I mean, all our major retailers usually have 1 or 2 birthdays every year at a different time to
have
do
1 or 2
promotions.
birthdays? How often do they birthdays?
Surprise! They'd be surprised. So that's the one thing.
I need 2 birthdays.
I'm not commenting on
the way if
birthdays.
you want gifts, huh?
And also, I mean, look at when new shops or new malls are open. I mean, we queue up for these things. In fact, one of the major retailers who's a client of ours once told us they do as much as 70% of their sales on promotions, on your weekend promotions, from Thursday to Sunday.
God forbid we have another mall. You know, I heard you say whenever a mall opens, because if there's one thing I cannot wait to see the cessation of in South Africa, at least, is another mall, because this is probably the over-mallified country in the whole continent.
That's
Well, that's our next topic. Is there room for another mall in South Africa? But Matt, let me pose you a question then. So if it's all about the pricing and the promotion at that point in time, what do the patterns show across the world? So we know that, for instance, in the UK, I was surprised to discover that Black Friday was a phenomenon which only commenced in 2010. It's quite new. Yeah. So does it keep on spiking? Does it just get better and better and better? Or is there a bit of a pullback?
So I think if the past data is anything to go on to plan forward, which I guess it's the best thing we've got, it looks as if, you know, next year will be another big year for South Africa in terms of Black Friday, but we'll find, you know, following that it starts to taper off a little bit. And I think the novelty of everything is starting to slow down, and I think we'll start seeing a lot of people shifting to online purchases. And that's something, you know, as people, which has happened a lot in the US and the UK, as people are moving away from the crowds, away from, you know, literally fighting for a particular product, to rather having a more refined process online, having a view of what's left in stock, and making those decisions.
Interesting you would say that, Matt, because one of the good things I think from this last year's Black Friday was we started seeing a lot of retailers doing special online sales or in-app sales, which are not available
to try and manage
in store.
the traffic. And
exactly. And I know, for example, at our office, I know for a fact that a lot of people who bought goods online had delayed delivery. So I think people, it must have actually helped to generate a lot more confidence in online sales in the country as well.
You know, you're saying that this gained traction in 2010 in the UK, South Africa 2015. This year Trump is in charge. is going to take his Black Friday away from all of you. So I'm not sure how long this is going to continue.
Build a wall around the mall. Yeah,
Going to build a wall around the Black Friday. Yeah. Only an American concept now.
The data that I've seen in the US is that there was $3.6 billion worth of sales on one day, of which just over $1 billion was in the Cyber Monday. I think it was Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
So, and that's growing. I mean, the year before, I think it was pretty negligible. So that's clearly a trend that people are going to go for the online platform.
So, I mean, how much? Yeah, is it okay?
China did that in 1 hour on Singles Day. Sales being generated online. So
The thing which is interesting for me is how do you hold people's level of engagement in a Black Friday? So yes, I mean, I think to an extent sales figures must be self-propagating. If we employed more people in 2017, you're going to have more people with money. At the end of the year, your Big Friday were bigger than 2016. So to a sense, it's a function of the economy. But let's look at engagement. Again, looking at the Red Hexagon report, that the level of engagement from 2010 until 2016, and it's an interesting measure. It's number of Twitter engagement or Twitter, the Twitter feed as a function of total Twitter output, and it's declined 7-fold from 2010. That is the proportion of Twitter comment on Black Friday as a percentage of the whole. It's declined 7-fold from 2010 to 2015. So people are going, but they're going with less expectation perhaps and less excitement. So Mike, from a creative perspective, how do you, beyond cutting the price, is there some way that you can make this interesting? How do you engage people from an advertising perspective?
Well, most of the advertising for Black Friday this past year was done in traditional media, not online, as it happens. I think people, once they become accustomed and familiar with the concept, which is that you're going to get deep cut bargains on that day, I think that the social conversation doesn't need to be as hyped up because people are already expecting it. They know it's coming. Having said that, I've noticed online that a lot of sites are promoting specific offers from retailers ahead of Black Friday. So they'll give you a top 20 or a top 50
stuff to look for,
stores to go to in different categories.
So interesting to go to those points, because I think I'm going to ask our guests just to give perhaps one insight to retailers in this regard. But Hexagon, in giving some pointers to retailers on how to milk this, is don't play it too far forward. Create the bridge and create the pressure days before Black Friday, not weeks or even months before. So that's absolutely a clear guideline. But let's start with you, Matt. I mean, if you were to give a retailer one sort of guideline, one point, what piece of advice would you give about Black Friday
I think
and or Cyber Monday?
I think it's really about the timing. So the moment you draw things out, like if it's all about the day that you can get the deals, and as a consumer, you're interested in the game of that. You feel like you're winning by getting a good deal. If now suddenly it's Black Friday all weekend, you kind of start losing interest, not as special as it was. And I think what a lot of the online retailers did this year is they started to gamify the concept a little bit. So they had limited offers at special times, so this hour only, or things that unlocked at later stages. And all of those sort of things start to play into the way our minds work as humans, and it just trumps up that scarcity and that feel that you're winning as a consumer. And I think that's something that's worth looking at.
Mike, from your point of view, from a creative perspective?
I just believe in transparency and honesty as much as possible. And I know that some of the retailers are actually advertising the quantities of certain goods that they've got available to try and avoid the post-purchase regret that some consumers will have if they don't find what they're looking for. Be as honest as you can, but consumers must go in there, aware.
But that creates now that gate crashing, that stampede, because now you've told them you only have 20. To me, that actually
it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off.
It is a trade-off.
Either you don't tell the consumer that, and then there's more resentment afterwards.
True that.
I'd like to thank our guests in studio very much. Mike Gendel of Gendel Strategic Marketing, my dear friend from Native VML. Matt, thank you very much for coming, and Muller, thank you for being here this evening.
I must tell you, Gordon, to me, the one thing that really got my attention was this issue about the dishonesty, about how some retailers actually do not deliver what they promise, and they're actually taking consumers to ride. To me, I think that's a real concern, and it's something that, you know, we shouldn't leave lying down.
I think Mike's comment about honesty and integrity was the major takeout for me as well. The rest of it's detail, but that's the big picture insight. And just to clarify the point, the report out of The Guardian that I was talking about, the Which report, pertained to UK retailers, where 50% of the offers were proved, you know, to lack integrity. But it's a terrifying prospect. So we're living in a world, I mean, the Oxford Dictionary word of the year for 2017, you know, is post-truth. The year before there was a nice word. I think it was emoji, and the year before there was selfie. But
this year I can tell you it's going to be alternative facts.
Well, that's my question.
Space,
what is going to be the advertising word for 2017? And more importantly, that if we live in a post-truth environment where we can't even trust our elected leaders, okay, with the information, how are we going to bring consumers to the point where they trust advertisers and marketers? It for me is the big issue. And I look at media and I'm just wondering, is it time for media owners to stop selling audiences and go back to something they used to sell a long time ago, which is called trust? As a media buyer, I don't actually care if you've got 1 million viewers, readers, or listeners. What I'd really like to know is how many of those people trust you and trust your brand environment. Then I'll advertise in a trust environment rather than a big environment.
And I think consumers also need to be much more vigilant, and they need to really fight for their rights, know their rights, and then fight for rights.
Correct.
But that's it for today.
That's it.
Until next time.
Yep, indeed.
I'm Thebe Ikalafeng.
And I'm Gordon Muller. Thank you for joining us this evening.